What's up, guys? How we doing? What's up, guys? How we doing? How we doing? Cannoneer by decision? Possibly. Oh, fight's over. What happened? Was it a cut? It looked like he was fine after round one, but let's see. They're showing a replay. Yeah, question mark kick that really hurt him. It hit his. It looks like it opened up a cut on his cheek. Yeah, that was weird. It didn't even look like it was bleeding that bad. I'm surprised they stopped that fight. Oh, he can't see. That makes sense. Well, that's a bit of a letdown. I'll be honest, I haven't really been watching this card so far. Has it been pretty good? Looks like a decent amount of finishes. But that's disappointing for Bonfim. Almost got the toes in the eyes, yeah. It was kind of weird though because Bonfim was like moving in, so he didn't get caught at the end of the kick. That could have knocked him out. That's a big upset for Sadikov though, right? Because I'm pretty sure Bonfim was probably a big favorite. Well, let's see. I guess we got Shabazian versus Budka next. You guys looking forward to Pereira versus Ankalaev? I'm sort of middle on the road on that one. And I'm honestly quite surprised that Pereira is, at least last I checked, he was an underdog. Minus 240 for Bonfim. So he's a pretty good size favorite. Zalal by decision. Yeah, I could see it happening. He's a huge favorite and a very good grappler. Calvin Cato didn't really have any answers for Aljo, so it seems like that's a pretty good path to victory for him. Pereira, the biggest star in the UFC right now. I think it's fair. He uh, he fights often. He's got the sort of the look and just kind of the, I don't know. It's hard to say personality because he doesn't say much, but he's kind of got the character, I guess, and gets lots of knockouts. It's a good recipe to be popular. Is the law on the same grappling level as Aljo though? Honestly, it's hard for me to really say. Uh, he has 3 submission wins in a row. Um, Actually, 4 technically, but that's obviously not the same caliber of competition as someone like Aljo. Aljo, his grappling has been effective in title fights, so it's hard to say. Bro, what camera? It's a Canon EOS R8. 6-year-old Habib versus Jake Paul, who wins? I was amazed that Jake Paul is getting his fight with Canelo. I know that doesn't answer your question, but um, I don't know. That was kind of amazing to me. Like he is a genuinely a great promoter. Um, yeah, I mean, people like to hate him, but he's he knows how to put on fights that get lots of views. And the fact that he got the Canelo fight is kind of amazing, honestly. He must have offered an insane amount of money. What I think is next for Israel Adesanya, honestly, I mean, I think the the idea that he could become champion again seems very slim. Um, Slim chance of that happening. He just seems a little bit slow. Like it seems like he's really starting to get a point in his career where you can see him aging a lot. Um, but if he wants to keep fighting, he could do he could do money fights or because I think no matter what happens, people are always going to watch him fight. Like when Anderson Silva was on his way out, um, he fought guys like Adesanya and who else did he fight? I'm thinking I'm totally blanking out on his name, but I mean I can see Adesanya just taking fights if he just wants to compete, but I kind of think he's out of the title picture at this point. He could fight someone like Kyle Baralho or something like that, but there's not really much for him to gain from that besides some money. Thought the Canelo fight was off. Oh, maybe it is. I don't know. I just saw the news come through that he was going to fight Jake Paul, which I was kind of blown away by. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that Cejudo is fighting instead of uh, who is Song Yadong supposed to fight? Um, Dominic Cruz. I'm kind of glad Cejudo is fighting instead because I mean Dominic Cruz is in no way still a contender at this point. Is this my first fight companion? No, I did. Um, I did one of these last week for UFC 312, and then I did it the week before as sort of a test run with the Saudi Arabia card. Do I think Ilya beats Islam? Um, I think he can. I'd be really surprised, or I'd be curious to see what the odds are of that fight if it ever gets made. I think Ilya and Islam are both really really well rounded, so I could see that fight going to decision or even. But I think he definitely can beat Islam because Islam is one of the most well rounded of the Dagestani fighters that we've seen, in my opinion. Like I almost want to say that Ilya would have more difficulty with Islam than Habib, just because Ilya's boxing is a little tighter than Habib's. What do I think about Uncle Live? I think Uncle Live is pretty good. I was really disappointed with his last performance against Rakic. Um, I just thought didn't really he didn't really look like he was hunting for a finish in that fight. And I think when he fights Pereira, Pereira will definitely put the pressure on him. Unlike I guess in ways that Rakic didn't. But I mean, he's skilled. Obviously, he's almost undefeated. Um, so I think if he decides to wrestle with Pereira, I think he could give Pereira some problems. But if he wants to, you know, stand and bang with Pereira, I think it's gonna end badly for him. Sorry, I accidentally muted myself. My bad. I don't know if you guys heard, but I've been doing BJJ for about 4 years, um, and that's it. No no official striking training or anything like that. Edmund Shabazian. I remember when this guy first started out in the UFC, and he was kind of like I want to say a prospect. Like he had a bunch of finishes back to back. Then he had a huge losing skid, and it kind of seemed like he got fraud checked because he's pretty young. He joined the UFC when he was 20, and he won back in 2019. He won 3 fights in a row by first round finish. Then he lost to Derek Brunson, lost to Jack Hermanson, lost to Nasruddin Imavov. So he went a bit of a losing skid, but um, he's been kind of back in the mix. He's a little bit more up and down now, but I think people have a more I guess accurate perception of him. Any parlays going tonight? No, I didn't do anything for this card. I I don't really like to bet that much. I mean, it can be kind of fun, but I only like to bet if I am picking fighters that I actually know really well. I don't like crunch numbers and try and do stuff like that. I just I kind of bet more from a big picture perspective. So, you know, if and usually it comes down to styles and things like that because there are just so many variables with MMA. It's hard to try and use like statistics and stuff. I feel like to make bets, but I didn't bet anything for this card because I'm just not familiar enough with the fighters on this card. It seemed like there were a lot of good sized favorites though. My thoughts on Diego Lopez and John Silva. Uh, Diego Lopez is great. He's a little bit chaotic. So I think he would struggle against Ilya Taporia, who's super technical and calculated. I just think that would be too easy for him to get hit. But I think um, has a ton of power. Like it seems like he when he touches, when he touches people, they just go down. But I don't know. I think Diego Lopez should get a title shot right now, either him or Movsar. Um, it doesn't really make sense to me for Taporia to go up to lightweight right now, just because I think there are still good contenders at featherweight. Diego Lopez being one of them. So I think we could see. I don't think they need to give Volk a rematch at this point. Like I don't know if anybody really cares to see that. Um, but yeah, no, I think he'll struggle against Taporia, but I think he's very good. And then John Silva. So I've seen a little bit of John Silva, and I know he comes from the fighting nerds, and all of them have been on a tear lately. So from what I've seen, he's super legit. But who's next for Oliveira? Realistically, either the rematch with Islam or the rematch with Armin, for like a number one contender fight. That's probably the most realistic um, next fight for Oliveira. Hey, thanks for the donation, Zeke. Love the vids. I really appreciate it. Thoughts on a possible fight between Topuria and Evloev? I would really hope that would be a really grappling heavy fight. If Topuria fights Evloev and he just fights on the feet, I don't know, because that would be so much more competitive. I feel like Evloev isn't bad on the feet, but Topuria is just so good, and we haven't really seen Topuria grapple that much. So I don't know. I think that could be really exciting if it's a grappling heavy fight. I disagree. People think Diego's out of control, but he was very technical against Ortega and Danny Gay. Yeah, I'm not saying he's not technical, but I guess his fights tend to be more chaotic than someone like Toporia's. He gets hit, it seems to me, a lot more than Topuria does. So that's really where I was coming from with that. I just think Topuria is a little more defensively sound, and if he got his hands on Diego, it could be lights out. Gene Silva's the best one, killer striker. Yeah, I'm trying to think who else is in that group. It's Gene Silva, Kyle Baralio, um, the one girl, I'm forgetting her name. Um, who else is it? Ruffy, Mauricio Ruffy, um, and then the one guy at Carlos Prates. I think he's 170, who reminds me a lot of Pereira the way he fights. Yeah, Ruffy and Prates. Yo, got great videos. Thanks for posting. What are you gonna when are you gonna continue posting? Is there another platform where you post? I just post on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and I'll probably be posting another short within the next couple days. It's going to be about Islam's Dars because he's had two Dars finishes in a row, and it's kind of uh, unconventional. So I kind of wanted to point out the things that he does with his Dars that makes it kind of non-traditional, but obviously very effective. Should break down the fighting nerd style on Diego Lopez. Yeah, maybe I will. I don't think I've done any videos on Diego Lopez. I was working on one um for a while because he had sort of a flying triangle that turned into an armbar that was really sick. But I never ended up posting it because I just wasn't really happy with where it was. All right, Shabazian versus Budka. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but here we go. Shabazian's already controlling the center, keeping Budka on the outside. Couple of nice jab with followed by a left hook for Shabazian. Budka switch stances. He's really loading up. Both guys kind of traded jabs there. Both of them in the orthodox stance. Keep doing your thing. Great channel. Thanks, man. Is it even possible to break down DDP, or is he just too untechnical? I think DDP is more technical than people give him credit for, but I don't know. A lot of his finishes aren't. They're very kind of scrambly. I guess the Adesanya fight is kind of one that comes to mind for me. Like that's kind of a weird sequence. I mean, maybe I could. Nice teep from Shabazian. Oh, really great. Oh man, Budka's hurt. That was such a great counter. Oh my goodness. Wow, Budka is still down. Beautiful timing. Shabazian just pulled just out of range when Budka came crashing in and landed a cross. I got to see a replay of that. That was sick. Yep, Budka came in with a jab, pulled massive right hand. It was almost like Aljamain Sterling and Sean O'Malley. Just pulled back just out of range and then landed a beautiful right hand. Really, really, really clean finish. Dang. Statement made. That's a performance of the night bonus right there. Would love if you could start making the longer breakdown videos again. I might at some point. I just took some time away from it because they were taking a lot of time, and there just weren't that many people watching them. So did I bet on these fights? I didn't bet on these. I saw on your Patreon that you would sell your picks. You can continue doing that. I was doing that for a while, but I'm not sure. I'm I've considered doing that again for um, like as members or like subscribers on Instagram or members on YouTube, doing that kind of thing. But I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that yet. All your vids are so good. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it seems like most people like the shorts the most. I mean, those are the ones that get the most views, and everyone responds really well to them typically. So that's kind of what I wanted to focus on most. Yeah, I've thought about maybe for longer videos, doing more like commentary stuff and less like fight, analysis like I do with the shorts. Because sometimes like I was doing full fight breakdowns for a while, but sometimes there's just not stuff to break down, every single round because there's just like not much going on. It's usually just the big moments that people, where stuff really really happens that really counts. And so, and also there's always, concern about copyright and things like that. So, I've thought about doing long videos again, but just doing like commentary stuff, more like as if I was recording a podcast and I just, took clips from that and where I talked about certain topics. I was doing that a little bit, but if I were to start coming back with long form videos, I'd probably come back with stuff like that to start with, anyways, because those don't take as much time as the as those long round by round breakdowns that I did. Keter versus Law. I think this is another fight that is pretty heavily favored for Zalal to win. Pretty big favorite. I never like predicting fights, I guess, um, where there's somebody who has a lot of hype or somebody who's a massive favorite, just because it seems to me like the odds sometimes don't really accurately reflect the skill differences between them. Like Bo Nickel's a really good example of that. Like I don't know if I would predict a Bo Nickel fight, anytime soon, just because he's relatively inexperienced in MMA, and there's just a lot of aspects of him that we don't really know much about, like his stand up, things like that. And so I don't know. He's gonna be probably a huge favorite in his next fight, and it's just like, oh man, I don't know if it's reliable. Um, Peyton Talbot's another great example of that. Like Peyton Talbot was a minus like 1,200 favorite in his last fight and lost every single round. Alex Pereira has a 63.1% striking accuracy. That is amazing. Like that's really, really, really high. Most people's right in like the 40 to 50 range. I think Poton ever gets beat. Mm, if he goes up to heavyweight, definitely yes. At light heavyweight, no, unless he fights maybe if Dricus goes up to 205. But it seems to me like he's cleaned out most of the division at 205. Do you recommend betting on an MMA fight, or do you think it's too random to bet on? Um, I would say only bet on MMA fights if you are okay with losing. Like, if just consider it like you've just lost the money, like you went and bought a coffee or something. Because no matter how well you know the sport, you're, you know, it's so unpredictable. I mean, just so many things happen, like especially parlays. I'm not sure. It's hard to know the exact numbers on it, but like if you once you start adding multiple bets onto the same bet slip, like the odds just they get out of control very quickly. Way too random to bet on. Yeah, I mean, if you're okay with losing the money, then yes. But don't think of betting on MMA like if you have, if you know a lot about the sport, like you're gonna make money on it or something. Dricus is not beating Poton in my opinion. If he takes a heavy wrestling approach, maybe. But if he tries to stand with Pereira, um, he'll get finished just because Pereira is so much longer and taller than him. But I don't know. At the same time, Dricus has long arms for his height, and he's a really big dude too. Um, so and you guys watch Power Slap? I see the highlights every now and then on Instagram and stuff, but I'll be honest. I think Dana White is probably stretching the truth a little bit when he talks about the popularity of Power Slap. I think MMA is more random than other sports. Probably not, honestly. I mean, sports betting in general, like you just got to consider it that you're going to lose the money pretty much. I don't really watch boxing that much, honestly, so I can't really predict that fight. I pretty much just watch MMA. That's really the only the sport that I follow closely. I've seen some boxing fights recently, but it doesn't interest me as much. Because honestly, the grappling aspect of MMA to me makes the sport a lot more enjoyable to watch. How's it going, guys? Who I think is the hardest fight for DDP? Probably mm, at 85, probably Shemaev, realistically. I mean, he's already beat a lot of the guys in the top five. Um, and nobody's, I mean, I don't know if we've ever seen somebody wrestle as aggressively as Shemaev does against DDP. So I'd probably say Shemaev. I think he has a chance of fighting the first two rounds. If he does, I think his chances of winning go up dramatically. But if he's still stuck in the first two rounds, then within the first two rounds, then much more likely Shemaev wins. Has the co-main started? Not yet. It starts probably within the next few minutes. Cater makes it look harder than the odds makers say. I think Cater's pretty legit. He's got a lot of experience, super solid. It just kind of depends on how good he is. I mean, he's 36, so at this point, it's like not sure how much of a real contender he is at this point, but he is 0-3 in his last three fights too. Pretty rough. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how this fight turns out, though. It seems like they're trying to use Cater as like a almost like a stepping stone for Zalal. Zalal's much younger, very skilled, but we'll see. Sometimes these fights end up going in the other direction. All right, Zalal's walking out now. Du Plessis or Hamzat? Mm, it's really hard to pick against Hamzat because he's just so dominant with his wrestling. But I mean, DDP, he's won every fight in the UFC, and I just don't think we've ever seen him be tested against somebody who's as good of a grappler as Hamzat is. So that's another one of those fights that's hard to predict because if he can defend the wrestling, I think he wins that fight. Like if he can get through the first two rounds of whatever Hamzat throws at him, he probably wins. But you know that's the question. We've never seen him fight anybody who's as oppressive as Hamzat is with his wrestling. Hamzat early or DDP later. Yeah, I think that's realistic. Could Ilya end Islam's streak? Definitely. That's yeah. I think he has the. They're both very very well rounded, but I think Ilya is one of the strongest, like most skilled, well rounded fighters we have right now. It's like I think Ilya versus Islam is almost probably as good or better than Volk versus Islam, like we got last year in terms of like the skill to skill matchup. Who's winning this? Cater or Zalal? Uh, Zalal is a massive favorite. He's very very good grappler, and Cater is nearing the end of his career, so that kind of explains the odds there. But you never know. Crazier things have happened. Like we saw Neil Magny beat Canadian. My bad. Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I was saying Islam hydrates to 180. Yeah, he's been in the high. I think he was in the high 70s when he fought his last fight. Like when he was in the octagon, he got all the way back up to the high 70s. Ilya has been he has fought at 55, but he looked like he was pretty undersized. I think if he really wants to make a real stab at becoming double champ at 55, he um, could do it, but he would have to kind of make a permanent move. That'd probably be the smartest thing for him to do. I would love to see him fight Dustin Poirier before he goes and fights Islam, even though he probably could get a title shot right away if he really wanted to. Yeah, Moicano was heavier, kind of crazy. It's possible that Islam doesn't cut as much weight as people think he does compared to other lightweights, anyways. Cater is gonna win. We'll have to see. So Law will win. Yeah, that seems like it's the most likely outcome. What do you guys think about Cejudo versus Song Yadong? I've always really liked Song Yadong. I just think he's got a really clean style. Good boxing, good scrambling. All right, here we go. Zalal versus Cater. Zalal's a massive favorite. Low kick check by Cater. Zalal switching stances. Inside low kick for Zalal. Kind of just feeling each other out here though. Hard low kick. Outside low kick for Zalal. Another inside low kick for Zalal. Cater just kind of stalking forward. Zalal's doing a lot more movement. Cater being most really defensive, keeping his hands really high. Zalal doing a lot of circling around. Seems like he's quite a bit faster though. Both guys look like they traded jabs there, but and again, but not super heavy. Zalal moving a lot, circling around the outside. This might get really tiring if he tries to keep this up. Oh, he tried like a little not an outside trip. It's like the Peter Yan takedown where he hooks the outside leg. It's a judo thing. I'm totally forgetting the name of it though. Is Dong the military guy? I actually don't know. I think he's Chinese. Either that or Korean or something. A couple good jabs there. Kattar really hasn't landed anything though. Another jab versus the wall. Oh, nice jab from Kattar as Zalal was trying to throw an outside low kick. Another jab for Zalal. So far, nothing too crazy. Curious to see if Zalal is going to try and shoot a takedown at some point. Ooh, knee attempt from Zalal. He has a knockout with a step in knee like that, but didn't land. And Zalal has been circling around the outside almost constantly. I'm sure he'll this has to get tiring at some point. Although it only is a 3-round fight. Nice cross to the body by Zalal. Oh, there he goes. He tried that Osotogari again. Didn't get it though. Didn't off balance Kattar enough. And he's just constantly circling around the outside. Kattar just staying in the middle, controlling the center, but he hasn't really landed much either. Whoa. Huge overhand from Kattar, but it didn't land. Yeah, Kattar's 4 total strikes so far. And there's less than a minute left in round 1. Both guys traded jabs there, but for the most part, Zalal is just running in circles around the outside, and Kattar is following him around. Kattar tried to intercept him with a head kick, but Zalal slipped. Have I done any MMA or martial arts? I've been doing BJJ for about 4 years. I think with BJJ, doing BJJ definitely helps a lot with understanding how it works in like when you're watching MMA because it's a very it's hard to see a lot of what's going on with BJJ. It's more of a feel thing, like knowing where people are putting weight and when they're pulling and pushing. Um, so I would say it definitely helps to do BJJ if you want to understand it better when you're watching MMA. But round 1 probably went to Zalal just because Kattar didn't really do anything. Pretty slow round to start. What do I think now after the first round? Eh, not really much to go off of that. There wasn't really anything that happened. Zalal was moving a lot though. I mean, I'm sure he can keep it up because it's only a 15-minute fight. But if this was a 5-round fight, it'd be hard to be running in circles for 25 minutes straight. Okay, here we go, round 2. Kattar opens up with a double jab and a low kick right away. A little more urgency, it looks like. Another jab from Zalal. He tried that. He does this thing where when he's oh there we go takedown entry. Oh, didn't get it. When he's when Zalal is southpaw, he likes to switch stances, but as he's switching, he throws that knee. Big love from Perth, Australia. Thanks, man. Cross to the body from Zalal. Switches back to orthodox. Kattar threw a jab, but didn't really look like it landed. What time is it in Australia right now? Ooh, another. He's in on a single leg. Kattar gets out. Kattar is still controlling the center, but he's not really doing much. It's not really pressuring. Another jab from Zalal. 9:30 a.m. Okay. Not much here. Another knee attempt from Zalal as he was switching from southpaw back to orthodox. But didn't really land. Kattar's face is starting to look kind of red, though. I think those jabs are starting to add up. He's just really gun shy. He's not really throwing much. Body kick from Zalal. Kattar's starting to pressure him back, but he's just not really. He's not really letting go. He's holding back way too much. Yeah, and he's biting on every feint. Nice takedown. It was a pretty good takedown entry, but didn't quite get it. Threw a jab, brought Kattar's hands up, and then went low. I mean, Zalal doesn't really need to do anything differently. He's winning this fight just based on pure activity, even though he hasn't landed anything huge so far. And it's mostly the same story, just kind of, ooh, feinted a takedown and got Kattar to sprawl completely. He feinted a takedown and Kattar responded by feigning an overhand. Kind of interesting. Nice cross. Oh man, massive body kick from Zalal. Just tuning in your live. How did I score the first round? Definitely Zalal. Kattar didn't do anything. I mean, he was controlling the center, but he landed. I think he attempted 4 strikes the entire round. So it's hard to really give him anything for that. How's it going? Kattar, I hope he wins. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's kind of toward the end of his career at this point. He's 36, ranked number 10. He probably needs at least 3 wins in a row if he wants a title shot. And Zalal is unranked too, so this fight doesn't really do much for him. It's really more of a stepping stone kind of fight for Zalal. Oh, pretty good right hand from Kattar. Zalal was hanging out in the pocket a little too much. He went for a jab and then went back down to try and reach for the lead leg, and just stood in that range a little too long. And Kattar landed a nice right hand. Zalal giving Kattar more than he can handle. Yeah, he's moving a lot. It's hard for. It seems like Kattar's having trouble knowing when to actually throw. That's the end of round two. 2-0 is a law by my on my book. Who am I rooting for? I honestly don't really care who wins this fight. Generally, I'm more excited to see guys who are younger and have more potential ahead of them. Um, like I love Tony Ferguson. He's one of the guys who I first got really they got me really into the sport. But toward the end of his career, I just didn't really care to see him win that much, just because he doesn't really have much of a future in the UFC ahead of him. I know he just got recently moved to a different organization, which is pretty cool. If he's still enjoying it, anyways. What will happen with Ilya Taporia? I bet we'll see a fight announcement within the next few weeks for him, but I'm not sure. All right, round three. Zalal's just so much faster. He keeps attempting that knee whenever he's switching from southpaw to orthodox. Didn't land. It's the third time he's tried it. And Cater is just kind of following him around everywhere. So he doesn't really know. It seems like he almost doesn't know when to throw because he's constantly moving forward. And Zalal's just really quickly in and out of range. But Cater's done a good job of stuffing all the takedowns at least. Ooh, nice uppercut from Cater. He's got to cut him off somehow because Zalal can just move around the outside for free, basically. How do we feel about the main event? Oh, nice. Oh, okay. Zalal got a takedown, but Cater got up instantly. Honestly, I'm not really sure. Uh, Obviously, Cannonier lost his last fight, but I thought he looked really good when he fought Marvin Vittori. Um, that was a super dominant performance. So I don't know. It's kind of he can be a little hit or miss. Show the fight too. Unfortunately, can't do that. I think Zalal's overhyped. I don't know. This is a good test for him. I mean, this is his first top 10 guy, and so far he's winning, but he hasn't had any been anywhere close to a finish in this fight. Cater really has to cut him off. It's the only way he's going to get close enough to land a good shot. Because Zalal is just moving back and forth. Oh, nice left hand from Cater in the clinch. It seems like Zalal does not want to be in the pocket with Cater. He's throwing mostly long range shots and then just dancing around the outside, but it's working. Clinched up, back to the center. Nice jab from Zalal. Who do I think will win? Alex Pereira or Ankalaev? Mm, man, Pereira has had so much momentum lately. I feel like I have to pick Pereira, but if Ankalaev wants to take a really grappling heavy approach, I could see him winning that way. But it seems to me like that Ankalaev prefers to keep fights on the feet. But it's really just not smart to do that against Pereira. Minute 20 left. I don't think Cater has much of a shot here unless he can somehow. Oh, nice right hand, but didn't seem to do much. Cater's really loading up now. He knows there's short time But he's doing a good job keeping the pressure on, so at least he has Zalal on his heels. Got him against the cage here. Nice elbow from Kattar. He's doing a great job putting on the pressure. It's just too late. Because Zalal doesn't want anything to do with staying in the pocket with Kattar. Nothing much here. Mostly just Kattar just following him around. Zalal is almost running in circles at this point. Kattar, oh, tried to. Oh man, Kattar threw a kick, but Zalal barely ducked underneath it. Kattar is trying as hard as he possibly can. Man, that was basically Zalal running around in circles for 5 minutes straight, and Kattar chasing him around trying to catch him. Kind of a mm, kind of a mediocre performance from Zalal, in my opinion. And Kattar just didn't put the pressure on that he had in the last minute early enough. How am I watching this? I was just watching this on ESPN Plus. Zalal 2-1. Yeah, I think so. I think he lost that last round because he didn't really do much, and yeah, Kattar had all the forward pressure. This fight pissed me off. Yeah, I mean, I think from the fighter's perspective, you know, if you're winning a fight, there's no reason to be aggressive if you're just trying to win, and you don't really care about making the fights entertaining at all. It kind of reminds me of when Marab fought O'Malley in the last few minutes of that fight. That's basically what this entire fight looked like, especially the last round of this fight. But I don't know. I've always thought that the UFC should change the way that they like right now. You get to show money and you get to win money, right? I've always thought that was kind of dumb because I think the idea is that they're trying to actually create an incentive for people to want to be really competitive and win fights. Um, but I don't think fans really care that much about who wins because there's plenty of times where, you know, there's been a really exciting fight and the guy who, put on tons of pressure and stuff lost. Like Michael Chandler is a good example of that. Like Michael Chandler honestly loses a lot, but he always, puts on a ton of pressure and makes the fights exciting and clearly goes for finishes. So I've always thought that it'd be much better if the UFC guaranteed a finish bonus. Anytime you get a finish, you get a bonus, right? Because there have been times where there have been cards where, you know, lots of people have gotten finishes, but they only give out performance bonuses to a few people, and I've always felt like most people, when they talk about exciting fighters, it's always the guys who get lots of finishes because they're the ones who are actually hunting for a finish in every fight. And so I think if the UFC guaranteed a bonus anytime you got a finish and you got the same amount of money whether or not you won or lost, because in a lot of ways, the win show money model kind of creates situations like what we just watched where guy's up 2-0, won the first 2 rounds of a 3-round fight, and hasn't taken a lot of damage so far. And so, what incentive does he have to kind of stick his neck out and try and get a finish in the last round where he's not even guaranteed any kind of bonus or anything like that if he gets a finish, and he gives his opponent more opportunities to win the fight. So I've always felt like it'd be much better if they had the same amount of money, whether or not they win or lose, but every time they get a finish, it's 50K or even 100K. Um, I almost guarantee you that would make everything it would just change a lot. There are a lot of guys who go out there who just are just trying to win, get a paycheck, go home, and it would create a much bigger incentive for people to actually go for finishes. They should put bonuses on finishes. Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. And for the most part, they already do give bonuses for a lot of finishes and a lot of exciting fights. But I feel like it would be much better if they guaranteed bonuses anytime somebody got a finish. What I think about Makachev, and do I think Ilya will fight him at some point? Makachev is super well rounded, um, pretty crafty striking, honestly, especially from somebody who kind of has that, of those Dagestani guys who usually are really grappling heavy. I think he's improved a lot and really developed a lot recently, um, like within the last few years, I should say, especially with the stand up. Um, I would love for him to fight Ilya at some point. I think that would be really a really competitive fight, easily as good as the fight he had with Volk. Um, and I would argue that Ilya is even more, I think, even more dominant in his different, like, he's probably a better grappler than Volk, and I just think he has much more. Like, Volk is really really fast, and he has great cardio, and he's really really hard to hit. And he puts together good combinations, but I feel like Ilya just has more knockout power, so I think he's more dangerous to Islam in that way. But I think MMA will be dominated by fighters from the Caucasus region in 10 years. It kind of already is. I would argue. Um, I mean, think about like Marab, um, all those Dagestani guys. They're all kind of, I guess if you consider that all in that kind of in that region. What are your thoughts on the card so far? I think it's been okay. Um, I didn't really watch much of the undercard, but I watched. But so far, um, main card's been pretty good. I think the last fight was a little bit underwhelming, but what are the chances of the Taporia brothers become champions one day? Well, Ilya's already champion, obviously, but um, I think Alexander, he has the he has the same style as Ilya. So, you know, we didn't. I feel like we didn't get to see much in the last fight because he was pretty restrained. But if he keeps, if he's able to be as dominant as Ilya is with that style, then I mean, I could see him going a long way. Marab said that um, if Alexander makes his way to a title shot, he'll vacate it and move up or down or whatever it is. Thoughts on Cater's performance? I mean, there's not really much to go off of. I think Cater was basically chasing him around the entire fight. Could never really cut him off and keep him in one spot or something like that to actually like land shots. Um, and Zalal clearly was going in there just to get a win and to move on. And I kind of understand it because he's fighting a top 10 guy. This is kind of a big thing for him because I mean, obviously he just won the fight, but that meant that now he's going to be, uh, fighting top 10 guys, and it really fast tracked his way to a title. But as far as the entertainment value goes, it was pretty weak because he clearly was not really going for a finish. He was doing the bare minimum. When Alex got in the UFC, you've been saying that they've allowed him to become well rounded. He wins all the time because his opponents stand and bang with him. He beats Ankalaev 100%. I feel like if like I would think Hamzat would beat Pereira just because I don't know if Alex would have the ability to actually stop Hamzat's takedowns. Um, and yeah, I mean 185 and 205 have always been kind of weaker divisions. It seems like for grapplers, it seems like most of the best grapplers in the UFC are 170 and below. Um, so I don't know. Really, really good strikers seem to have kind of an advantage in those heavier weight classes. Do I watch boxing as well? Not really. Who's my GOAT in MMA? And what do you value most? I think so. I would say John Jones is the GOAT. Um, I mean, I know people talk about the PED thing, but there's a lot of guys who've been caught for PEDs, and probably a lot who have used PEDs and haven't gotten caught. And as far as I know, I mean, even if you were to take away the fights that Jones got caught for, so as far as I know, it's just the Cormier fight or the second Cormier fight. Um, but for me, when I'm thinking about who's the greatest of all time, I'm thinking title defenses because you know people like to look at who has the most wins or who had the most dominant wins, but really not every win is created equal. Like if you beat a guy who is the literal number one contender, it means a lot more, on your resume than beating some can when you were starting out as a pro. So you can't just look at, in my opinion, you can't just look at numbers. Like, you know, Khabib, great example. People like to talk about him being the GOAT. If you look at Khabib's record, he has like his first 10 to 15 fights were all these guys from who knows where, and, and some of them have absolutely atrocious records. And so for me, I wouldn't even consider those fights. The other thing too is I really don't consider losses either because everybody starts their pro career at some point and they develop a lot over the course of their career, right? Like everybody who's in the UFC right now had their first day in their boxing gym or their jiu-jitsu gym and they knew absolutely nothing. And so because everybody started from that point, I would only really consider them in the GOAT conversation when they were at their peak because you know, there are guys like Bo Nickel, for example, who's fighting UFC caliber fighters with 5 fights on his pro record, whereas most people are fighting cans at that point. And so the odds that Bo Nickel gets a loss on his record is way higher, and it's kind of unfair to compare him to people who racked up a ton of experience in pro fights against people who are not at the same caliber as Bo Nickel. So I don't consider losses for that reason as well. And the other thing too is people just like there's an early stage of their career where they're still sort of developing. There's also the you know the decline, I guess, where at some point everyone's going to start getting worse. It's just kind of how it goes. We've seen tons of dominant champions start to fall off because age and things like that. And so I think if you're somebody and you're a champion and you win a fight, you are beating the next best person in the world at that weight class. And the more title fights you get, the more fights you have, the more opportunities you have to win or lose those fights. And and so I don't know. I've always felt like essentially whoever has the most title fights is the most wins against the highest quality opponents that were available to them at that time. And you know, I think so that for me is probably the most important criteria. I think the only other criteria I would think of is if you're comparing two guys who have the same number of title fights. Obviously, there's a little bit of a difference. Like some divisions are super deep and others are kind of weak. Like if you're somebody like let's say Islam Makhachev, who's fighting in lightweight, which is a super competitive division, it's hard to really compare him exactly to someone like Pereira because 205 is just not as competitive as lightweight is. So I think you could kind of, mm, if you're talking about two guys who have the same number of title wins, like you can kind of, go through and kind of see, okay, whose opponents were actually better and dominance too. I think there's some merit to that, like how dominant your wins are. Were you getting finishes or were you barely skating through? And then the last thing I would say is people who are double champion, right? Because then you're saying you're no longer just being better than the next best guy in one division, but another. So suddenly the pool of competition gets so much better, and I think it's really significant when um, you know you are the best in the world in multiple divisions. So I really consider double champ stuff as well. Like I think Daniel Cormier is easily top 5, at least top 10 of all time. I think there's a strong case that Pereira is also at least top 10 of all time. Um, Makachev probably as well. Usman, Adesanya, and then of course guys like John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, Amanda Nunes, Anderson Silva, those guys that just racked up tons of title defenses. GSP, of course. Is there any fight going on at the moment? The main event is just about to start right now, and I'm watching on ESPN Plus. What do I think about GSP? Honestly, I got into MMA, like watching MMA anyways, kind of after GSP's time. But to me, he seemed like he was really ahead of his time with his style. Um, Obviously, great wrestler and um, honestly a really well-rounded fighter. Like when he was competing, um, at his prime, a lot of people were more specialists where they would really only be good in one area of MMA. And I feel like GSP was one of the first few people to really be really well rounded. So I feel like in that way he was really ahead of his time. And obviously it was effective too because he had so many title wins. I hope Zalal gets knocked the F out. Yeah, I mean, I that was kind of a frustrating to watch that last. It's not really, I don't know. It seems kind of weak to be running around, even if it's totally reasonable to try and skate out with your win. But that was it would have been more exciting to see him try and go for a finish. Yeah, he kind of was running the whole fight. It seemed like Cater couldn't ever really land much because he was basically just chasing him around. Like he never had opportunities to be like, okay, we're settling in here, and I'm actually gonna like go for. Who do you think wins the main event? Man, I should have rewatched some of Gregor Rodriguez's fights because I kind of forget his fighting style. I think Calvin Cater, Jared Cannonier is, um, kind of nearing the end of his career. He's getting a little older, but I thought he still looked really good when he fought Marvin Vittori. All right, here we go. Both these guys are absolutely yoked. Kind of just feeling each other out here, fighting at a lot of distance. Both guys are orthodox. Inside leg kick for Cannonier. Hard body kick from another hard body kick from Rodriguez when Cannonier went. Oh wow, 1-2 already from Rodriguez. That looked like it connected pretty well. Rodriguez looked like he has a bit of a speed advantage here. Ooh, Rodriguez feinted the jab, threw the cross, and then landed a nice left hook. Man, Rodriguez is really finding his range. He keeps landing his cross after feinting the jab. Oof, hard low kick for Rodriguez. Another low kick for Cannonier. Oh, nice left hook from Rodriguez. It looked like it stumbled. Oh, knockdown for Rodriguez. Nice. Off of a cross. Cannonier back to his feet, but they're in a clinch. Ooh. Okay. Rodriguez attempted a knee, but overshot it. Fell to his back, and now Cannonier is clinching against the cage. Cannonier's got the good head position here for whatever he wants to do. Rodriguez has to make frames. There he goes. Man, Rodriguez is really putting it together on the feet. So this is big for Cannonier to kind of settle in here. Okay. Cannonier's putting a little bit more pressure here. Landed a pretty good jab. Another 1-2 from Rodriguez. It's been landing all night. Another, let's see here. Rodriguez controlling the center. Cannonier going to the body a little bit, which I think is good. Rodriguez seems like the much taller guy. Nice body shot from Rodriguez. Oh, nice takedown entry from Rodriguez. Really good timing on that. Slipped under a left hook from Cannonier. Man, it seems like Rodriguez, he's got a lot, like his shots are landing with a lot more impact. He seems to have a bit of a reach advantage. Oh, another cross and a left hook from Rodriguez. Another right hand. Rodriguez is, or Cannonier is up against the cage. I would not be surprised if Rodriguez finds a finish here. A couple body shots from Rodriguez. Hard body shots in this clinch. And then a right hand off the break for Rodriguez. Cannonier's starting to look a little bit desperate. I think Rodriguez can really just go back to the 1-2. It was working so well to back him up. Oh wow. A hook landed somewhere on the for Rodriguez. Cannonier's down, but he's defending. He's got a high crotch, but not really. A couple elbows from Rodriguez. Ooh, Rodriguez might go for a guillotine here. Let's see if he's going to pull it off. Nope. He's just defending takedown. Nice. Cannonier got him down. That's big. See if he can do anything with it, though. Nope. Rodriguez back to his feet right away. Couple knees. Small knees for Cannonier up against the cage here. Yeah, Cannonier is looking a lot slower than Rodriguez. But these clinches are really nice for him to recover because every time he's been hurt, he hasn't. It seems like Rodriguez has hurt him several times, but hasn't been able to really finish it. Okay, well, easily 10-9 for Rodriguez. Yeah, good round for RoboCop. This is just a fight night. This is Jared Cannonier versus uh, Rodriguez. The next pay per view is UFC 313. I think it's March 8th, something like that. But this is, yeah, Gregor Rodriguez and Jared Cannonier. Cannonier looks pretty tired, too. I would not be surprised if this fight ends here in this second round. All right, round two. Jared is getting cooked. Yeah, I think he's kind of on his way out. His last real shot at the title was when he fought Izzy 2 years ago. Cannonier's putting on a little more pressure here at least. I like when he's going to the body. Seems like it's landing pretty good every time he goes there. Hard outside low kick for Cannonier. Ooh, nice overhand for Cannonier. Didn't really do too much, but it looked like it landed pretty clean. head kick attempt for Cannonier, but he's a little out of range. Rodriguez is moving a lot slower this round. Curious to see if he can stay in this for 5 rounds. And it looks like he has some kind of cut on his right eye. Rodriguez. Jared just kind of stalking forward, trying to feel things out. It looks like Jared wants to clinch. He keeps going for that clinch. Oh, nice knee to the body for Cannonier. Cannonier is really controlling the center here in round 2 for the most part. And Rodriguez is being a lot more patient than he was in round 1. Another outside leg kick for Cannonier. I think Rodriguez needs to go back to that 1-2. It was working so well. Cannonier couldn't really get the range right. He kept getting caught with him almost every time Rodriguez threw it. Another nice jab for Rodriguez. Light outside low kick for Cannonier. Cannonier looks a lot slower though. Like when Rodriguez is really going for it, he's much faster. His hands. And it seems like Rodriguez's range. Cannonier is having a hard time really staying out of range. Another low kick for Cannonier. Rodriguez looks a lot more tired. I'm wondering if he's taking this round to sort of recover a little bit and he's going to come out stronger in round 3, or if he maybe emptied a little bit too much in the first round. Nice left hook from Rodriguez. Really got Cannonier's attention. Nice jab from Cannonier. I think the Jones Aspinall fight will happen. I think if Jones wants to stick around, they're going to have to make it happen because Aspinall has already defended his interim belt, which is pretty crazy. There's no way they're going to make him defend it again. Like, if Jones is going to stick around, he's going to have to fight Aspinall. Unless they give Jones an even bigger fight, like Pereira or something like that. Ooh. Wow. Cannonier attempted a knee, slipped, and now he's in on a takedown, but now they're clinched up against the cage here. Cannonier's got the dominant head position. Landed a really couple good body shots here. Another knee to the body, uppercut for Cannonier. He's kind of putting it together here. He's looking a lot better than he did in round 1. Rodriguez is just way more slow and sluggish than he was in the first round. It almost seems like he emptied the tank a little too much in the first round. I don't know. That was a pretty close round. I think it could go either way, but probably Cannonier. I would say it's probably 1-1. If Rodriguez looked as slow as he did in round 3, I think Cannonier might actually be able to pull this off, which would be surprising. He's a pretty big underdog from what I can tell. Yeah, he landed a couple good shots in there. The biggest shots of the round were definitely from Cannonier. And Rodriguez looks really, really tired. Don't know if Robocop is patient or fatigued. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. If he looks as slow as he did in round 2, I'm going to say that he's just fatigued. That's crazy. He looked so sharp in round one. All right, here we go. Round three. Cannonier just kind of trying to figure things out a little bit. Ooh. Robocop tried to counter with a left hook as Cannonier came in. Another left hook, right hand attempt from Robocop, but it didn't really land. Seems like Cannonier is trying to figure out his range. Head kick attempt for Robocop, but Cannonier got out of range. Inside leg kick for Cannonier, pretty hard. He's got Robocop backed against the cage here. Pretty good body kick for Robocop. Outside leg kick for Cannonier. Nice 1-2 from Rodriguez. Couple good jabs. Ooh, left hook, right hook for Cannonier. Pretty slow so far, though. Couple small jabs and crosses here and there in the center, but neither of them are really committing. Cannonier came in with a cross and the left hook, but was out of range. Both of them are being pretty patient this round. Oh, nice cross from Cannonier as Rodriguez tried to throw a low kick. Pretty good jab there for Cannonier. Rodriguez trying to stick to his head movement. Both of them traded jabs here. Cannonier jab to the body. Neither of them are really landing much here. They're both being pretty defensive, and they're kind of staying at a longer range. Nice 1-2 from Rodriguez. Try to counter with a right hook as Jared came in with an overhand. But not much here. Pretty slow round. Pretty good cross for Rodriguez. Another one. Rodriguez is always best when he throws combinations. Whenever he just tries to jab or throw little shots here and there, it's never as effective. He's got Cannonier backed against the cage here. Looks like he's maybe trying to go for a finish. Oh, nice timing. Cannonier got in on a takedown entry, and now Cannonier. Oh, big left hook from Cannonier. Another jab from Cannonier. Oh man, they're going for it now. Rodriguez is bleeding pretty bad from his nose, it looks like. Ooh, really labored single leg entry from Rodriguez. Didn't really get anywhere. Oh, nice uppercut. Left hook from Cannonier. Oh, man. Both of them traded left hooks. It looked like Cannonier dropped for a second. Oh, man. Huge right cross from Rodriguez. Both of them trading jabs. Another body shot from Rodriguez. Really light, though. Cannonier tried a low kick and almost got intercepted with a 1-2. Nice. Oh, I thought Rodriguez was going to get a takedown there, but he had a pretty good single leg entry, but it didn't go anywhere. Both of them look pretty tired now. Cannonier looks way more tired now than he did in round two. Oh, massive elbow from Cannonier. He drops him. Rodriguez trying to frame. 10 seconds. Can you do it? Cannonier, do as much damage as you can. He's going to survive. Oh, massive left hand from Cannonier. Wow. If that round was another 5 seconds, it would have been over. Holy smokes. Man. That's a 10-8 for Cannonier. Probably 10-8, but easily for Cannonier. I've ever been to an MMA fight. What does it feel like? Is it worth going? Think about going. Yeah, they're fun. I've been to a couple UFC fights. I was at UFC 274, which was Oliveira versus Gaethje. I went to Poirier versus Gaethje. Um, and then I went to Covington versus Edwards. The energy is insane. I've also been to like a smaller local fight too. That was also really fun to watch. Way cheaper, and you get better seats. So if you just want to watch, some MMA action, then I would say, you know, go local. But the UFC fights are, I mean, the productions are crazy. Oh man, Cannonier is teeing off here. He's got Rodriguez up against the fence. Massive left hook. Body shot. Rodriguez is down. It's over. Wow. Great finish for Cannonier. He looked like he was struggling in the first round, but he really smart for him to come out really strong in round 3 because Rodriguez was hurt badly at the end of round 2. It's like when Pereira was fighting Yuri in their second fight, when he came out really, really, really strong after he dropped Yuri at the end of that round, because 1 minute is not enough time to recover from the beating that he took at the end of that second round. Massive left hook, right hand. Rodriguez was back against the fence. Cross. Left hook, body shot, right hook. Man. He was looking like Pereira there for a second. Man, that was brutal. Great win for Cannonier. I'm really curious to see who he might fight next. I mean, it looked like Cannonier was sort of looking slow and sluggish at the beginning of this fight, but he's 40. That's insane. He turns 41 in March. Wow. Man, he still looked good though. Good for him too. Coming off of 2 losses in a row. It's a big win. Robocop is very mid, but good win for Jared. I mean, it looked like Rodriguez was gonna win. Through the first round, he had a massive speed advantage. Jared couldn't figure out his range. He was getting hit with 1-2s over and over and over again. But in the second round, Robocop started to look a little bit more tired, a little more sluggish. I thought Cannonier was, winning the round until he really hurt him at the end. And then Cannonier very smartly came out really, really strong in the third round and um, took advantage of the fact that he hurt him badly at the end of the second round and got the finish. Really, really great win for Jared Cannonier. Alrighty. You went to Pereira versus Roundtree. That was probably really fun. Yeah, honestly, the craziest fight that I saw was easily Oliveira versus Gaethje. The energy was just insane during that fight. The Covington versus Edwards fight was super disappointing. very slow. It looked like Covington broke his hand in the first round, so ended up being kind of a disappointing fight. Man, I don't know. Cannonier might still be competitive. It's hard to think. I don't think he really likely will get a title shot at this point. I mean, he's just so old. He's 41. But being a plus 200 underdog, getting a TKO finish there was huge. Alrighty, I think I'm gonna end the stream here. Um, I'm planning on doing this every weekend, if I can, anyways. I'll definitely be doing the pay-per-views, but for these fight nights, I'm gonna try and do them every weekend if I can. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed the fights, and hope you guys have a good weekend. But yeah, I'll see you probably next weekend, and you can expect a new video from me coming within the next few days.